It is 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, and you know what that means? It's Topical starts right now. A very good evening to you, South African, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical, our digital audience joining us tonight. Good to have them, as always. Looking forward to getting their questions for our guests a little later on. Are you offended by the singing of the song Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer? Does it undermine the political establishment? It has been labeled dangerous rhetoric by some. Or do you hear it differently? A struggle song that is not literally agitating an attack. Should there be a better understanding of the philosophy and the history of the song? The public debate rages on. You'll remember last year, the Equality Court ruled that the song was not hate speech. However, AfriForum was granted leave to appeal. We'll see how that plays out. But it leads us to our question of the week. And we're asking you, what are your thoughts on the song or chant, Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer? As always, it's a simple question. We're expecting some complicated answers. Let's walk and talk, good people. The resonance of anti-apartheid songs. What sort of psychological effect does it have, do you think, in post-apartheid South Africa? Let us know at It's Topical SABC. Perspective coming up. All right, so I want to get you some context, and as always, we'll turn to the magic wall, what we know and why it matters. My guest tonight is Maswili Radebona. If he can come to, it just goes dead. But anyway, we'll endeavor to try. Good to have you, good sir.
Thank you.
On the program. So let's talk about where we are at this stage. The song, controversial, but the controversy is not new.
Yes.
Take us back. Give us context.
Blaine, you will remember that the song was made famous by the late Peter Mugabe, who was the ANC Youth League leader then. During that time, there was this uproar, and then even the TRC called the likes of former President Thabo Mbeki,
right,
who went into the TRC and defended the song and said it's not to be taken literally. Fast forward to 2011. In 2011, Julius Malema, the former ANC Youth League then, was taken to court.
Right.
And the judge in September of 2011, Judge Colin Lamont ruled that the song is unconstitutional and can incite violence. But then Julius Malema, being Julius Malema, went on to revise the lyrics. And then he's been singing as Kiss the Boer, Kiss the Farmer. But recently, again in last year, August last year, the court under Judge Edwin Mulahlekhi, High Court under Judge Edwin Mulahlekhi, ruled that the song is not, it shouldn't be taken literally,
right,
and should be protected under the rubric of freedom of speech.
Interesting. We've got that order that was handed down. Let's play it for the viewers.
As the matter stands in my view, the singing of the impugned song and its lyrics should be left to the political contestations and engagement on its message by the political role players. Accordingly, the objective evaluation of the impugned song is that it does not constitute hate speech, but rather it deserves to be protected under the rubric of freedom of speech. In the circumstances, the following order is made. 1. The complaint that the first impugned song, open quote, Kiss the Boer or Kill the Boer or Kiss the Farmer, close quote, constitute hate speech and unfair discrimination is dismissed.
All right. That was last year. There's been development since, Maswili. Take us through it.
So right now, after the EFF's 10th anniversary at the FNB Stadium past weekend, Julius Malema sang the song as it is. Kill the Boer, kill the farmer. And then he says the court ruled on this matter to say we are not going to take it literally. And when we say, according to his explanation, when we say kill the Boer, kill the farmer, we are talking about the system that came up with that was brought by apartheid, which exclude majority black people from the economic opportunities. That's what we're referring to when we sing kill the farmer, kill the Boer. But that is not was not taken literally as it is now. We've got the DA that is saying they are filing complaints with the UN Human Rights Commission.
Yep.
You have the Freedom Front Plus, and led by Peter Groenewald, who has already pressed charges against Julius Malema in court, and they are also approaching the Human Rights Commission here in South Africa. But also, Blaine, you have members of the DA, some of the DA, some just members of the society who are saying, take for example, a former member of the DA, Phumzile van Damme, also former MP, who says the DA knows very well that this song is not literal. It's just that the elections are coming and they want to play to the gallery. You have the likes of Pierre DeVos, who also weighed in. There's lots of people, including media personality JJ Tawane, who went hard on John Steenhuisen to say what he's doing is playing to the gallery, and he knows very well that this is not a literal song. It's about the past and the future.
You and I know that news is only, it only matters in the context of humanity, right? You have no doubt your ears close to the ground. What are you hearing in terms of people, ordinary folk, listening to this song? Is there a sound understanding that it's not supposed to be taken literally, or is there room there for incitement?
I think the country is divided and across racial lines, and unfortunately, and when you look at it, mostly black people are saying this song, the way the other race is taking it, they are even they take it as a call for black people to unite and protect their history, which this song is part of it. Some even referred to the Afrikaans part of the national anthem, which is part of the South Africa's national anthem, to say it was part of the national anthem during apartheid. But as black people or as South Africans, we accepted it to be part of it, and we're not saying anything about it. But when we sing our struggle songs, we have this backlash.
Yeah. Maswili, context always matters. Thank you very much indeed. Maswili is SABC News researcher, giving us a sense of where we were and the current state of play. I want to give you now a sense of what people are saying on the street. It's called a Word on the Street feature. We hit the bustling streets of Johannesburg seeking insight and perspective on this highly contentious topic. This is what you had to say. Take a look.
A song will always be a song, and it's a struggle song. It's more of a chant to me.
I think it's provoking violence. It's completely unnecessary. You know, wherever the song stems from is irrelevant, but it's certainly just provoking unnecessary violence. You know, at a time where I think we're trying to move forward and break down, racial barriers.
As much as they may say that it was a struggle song, but for someone in that race, they might feel that it's appointed to them, the same way that we would feel if it was the other way around.
So kill the farmer, kill the Boer, the same way it was sang before. We are still singing it in the same perspective, to trying to say we want to demolish the oppression.
Look, I know it is a song that has always been sung, but the problem is with trying to bring people together, I don't think it's very good. I think we should strive to just do the right thing and not sing songs that cause anxiety to people.
The song was necessary at a time when change needed to happen, but at the moment I think it distracts away from the real work that needs to be done.
But if you bring that song now, My question is it relevant?
It's not about killing them. We are trying to kill the system that was imposed on us by the farmers, by the Boer. That's what the song means.
The song itself is just a bunch of words, but it's the intent. And if the song is meant to be taken literally, then absolutely it's deplorable. We should never be threatening people, whether by song or by any other sort of, oral outburst. But even if it's not meant to be taken literally, it's just inappropriate.
It's going to separate everybody. That's what it's going to do. And if we want, as I said, if we want this country to go forward, we have to do it together.
All right, we've got lots to talk about. Let's get to it. We've lined up a number of guests, also our digital audience with us tonight. They're going to throw in some of their questions as well. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for joining me. Sinao Tambo, EFF National Spokesperson, Kali Kriel, CEO of AfriForum. Good to have both of you in studio. It's important. We need to get to a better place as a nation. Kali, let me start with you first. Equality Court judgment. Let me go back to what it said, right? A reasonable listener would conclude that that song does not constitute hate speech, but rather it deserves to be protected under the rubric freedom of speech. So it begs the question, are you being unreasonable?
No, definitely not. This case is going to court again on the 4th of September to the Supreme Court of Appeal. We believe the judge was wrong. The judge also said, when we applied to appeal, said that another court might come to a different conclusion. And we believe we have quite a strong case because the judge can say the reasonable person won't do it. But only in the last week, after the EFF sung this hate song or hate chant, we saw 3 people being murdered, and they were literally murdered. We saw a person like Topical, whose throat was slit. His wife was brutally assaulted. On the 2nd of August, the body of Karel Nel was found in BC's Vlei. Then on the 3rd of August, near Randfontein, we saw the brutal murder of Dwayne Smith. So people are literally being killed. And for someone now to say this is not literal, we don't buy that. This is dangerous. That is why we will fight to the bitter end against this. And if you say it's not literal, why did Julius Malema in court say that he will not give an undertaking, that he will not call for the large-scale slaughter of white people? He refused to do so. That is not a literal statement. That is a threat. And we will not sit by being threatened by thugs that don't want a future for everybody in this country. The majority of people want a future for their children. We extend a hand of friendship to all people. And we have agreements with cultural communities, we have joint agricultural programs, but the good news here is that 90% of the people in this country don't vote for the EFF. And we should unite, and we are doing so, against those that wants to destabilize our country.
Right. I just want to go a few steps back with regards to the people that were killed. What sort of evidence do you have that those deaths were directly linked to the singing of the song?
Well, of course, one will never have that evidence. What we have...
But then why put it in this context?
Because people are literally being killed. We have a culture of violence in the country. If you're going to the TRC, your expert mentioned what Thabo Mbeki said at the TRC. At the TRC, there was also a farm murderer that said that he was inspired by Kill the Boer. If we look at a family near Welkom, a mother and daughter, when they were murdered, their own blood was used to write Kill the Boer on a wall in that house. So I think it's totally irresponsible. If you really want to look at the struggle and you want to fight the struggle, do that. But don't bring ethnic violence into this. It's simply unacceptable that somebody says you should kill somebody simply because of the ethnicity. Right. That is the biggest form of racism.
We never want to minimize death as now, but how do you respond to when Kali groups it with the singing of the song?
It's nonsensical. So first and foremost, it's extremely racist to presume that black people are of so low intellectual and emotional capacity that a song would incite them to go and kill people. It's racist It's undermining of our people. That's the first thing. The second thing is that AfriForum and many racist and right-wing groups in South Africa and internationally want to exceptionalize the death of white people. So when a white person dies due to violence or crime, which is prevalent in South Africa, it must become an international crisis. From January to March this year, 6,200 people died in South Africa. Not even 0.5% of those people were murdered in farms or were murdered as a relation to farm murders. So why is this a debate? Why are we not focusing on crime as a central point in why people are being killed, even on farms? But because they exceptionalize themselves, because they have white self-entitlement, and because they think white life is over and above any life in South Africa, that even if one life is lost, there must be international uproar. That's why we're having this debate today. It's a sideshow that is trying to distract the EFF from its successful 10th anniversary celebrations. And if we wanted to do anything, we could have done it on that day. There were 100,000 people at FNB Stadium. We could have marched to the closest suburb and done what they think we want to do. We have no intention of killing white people. There's no policy in the EFF that says we're going to kill white people. This is a liberation song. We're going to defend it as well. And it's unfortunate that many liberation movements who are part and parcel of this culture are not at the forefront of defending it. But as an organization that has inherited this struggle from our forefathers, we're going to do it. But it's nonsensical and it's undermining of our people to think a song is going to make them go and kill people. He can't prove it himself. He said it now. There's no evidence that the people who were killed, the 3 people who were killed last week, were killed as a result of kill the Boer, kill the farmer. AfriForum is involved in an elaborate fundraising initiative. They use Swat Khafar tactics. They want to alarm people, and they get this attention so that they can fund their trip to the bush to go and shoot at paper targets and drink brandy and coke. This is what they're doing, and that's all they're going to be doing moving forward.
Evidence is material, Kali, especially when you're dealing with a hot-button issue like this, when you're trying to link the singing of a struggle song to the murder of people. And it goes back to people won't believe it unless you provide proof. South Africa is a violent country. People die on a daily basis. So how do you draw that link?
No, I think there's something like moral behavior. If you know people are offended, why would you do it? We don't offend people because we want to build the future where there's mutual recognition and respect. And the judge had it wrong. You don't have to prove the link. You can simply show that this hate has a detrimental and a negative effect on people. The fact is, to say this is racist, to be against this, I must truly say, I think the EFF are a number of people, as I've said, the minority, going around singing a chant to say people should be killed on the basis of their race. That is the most extreme form of racism. So they've lost all moral authority to come and tell us we are racist. There's only one racist in this room. And that is the person Sinawi sees in the morning when he looks at the mirror. And of course, I want to put on record that we are against all murders. You can go on our track record. Our safety structures work with all communities, with taxi associations. Advocate Gary Nel, 95% of the people he represents are black people that have lost their families, that have been left in a lurch by the criminal justice system. So we're the only organization that says we want to unite people, we are working with all cultural groups, and we will not offend people because we all have children. If you look at the vast majority of peaceful people in this country, and it's not a 10%, it's a 90%. We all want the future for our children, and we will continue to work that. We have to make a prosperous country, and we cannot allow radical groups that thinks it's a joke if they dance on a stage telling that we should be killed. We will fight this till the bitter end, right. And the communities will fight with us. If you look at what happened on the 20th of March, the communities in this country from all races took hands to say we will not let the EFF destabilize this country. And what we saw is that the EFF failed dismally. Their national shutdown was a national letdown. And they will fail again because we will work with all cultural communities to say we need to promote mutual recognition and respect, and we will take a firm stance. They should not see our view to say we want peace. They shouldn't see it as weakness. We will fight for peace, and we will do it with all communities in this country.
I wonder what's the way forward, Sinao, where both are drawing the line in the sand. You call what Kali is saying racist. He's responded with the same. What's the way forward?
Look, I don't think AfriForum has much standing in South African society, and it's laughable for them to think they have a moral authority to lecture us on racism. They are the ones who have been defending the apartheid flag and fighting for it to be sown high in this country, a flag that has been representative of cruelty and human rights violations in this country since apartheid times. They are the ones who will defend this stem, a song that was sung at Flag Plus when our people were being tortured, who were fighting for the liberation of this country. So there's no moral authority that AfriForum has, but also there's no numerical authority they will ever have to undermine the growth of the EFF, to undermine the influence of the EFF in terms of the public debate in society. There's nothing they can do. So there's no way forward we're going to chat with an aspirant AVB Buremach group that is interested in protecting the rights and the land that was stolen from African people and protecting a minority by stoking up non-existent genocidal calls. They are creating if you can ask him what genocide means now, he can't tell you. He can't give you statistical evidence that links the singer of Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer to the murder of people. So there's no way forward we can chart with an organization that is using Swat Khafar to fundraise. That is what they are doing, and that's how they must be characterized.
To Sanao's point, Kali, even the judge sitting in the Equality Court said that AfriForum had failed to show that the lyrics in the song could reasonably be construed to demonstrate a clear intention to harm or incite to harm and to propagate hatred. Why couldn't you prove it back then at that case? I mean, you are appealing, it's going to be heard, I think, in September. What new evidence do you have?
No, the judge made a huge mistake. With regard to hate speech, you don't have to prove that. If you look at the Kwelani case, he made negative remarks towards gay people. The Constitutional Court had to look, was there a correlation? Could he prove that gay people were harmed? And the court said it is not necessary. So now to play around to say, well, you can't prove it, so we're going to go on. People are literally being killed. And if they want to downplay it, there's such a thing as proportionality. To be a farmer today is twice as dangerous than being a police officer.
That's nonsense.
That is, of course, the
nonsense.
Truth. You're ill-informed in this
nonsense.
regard.
You know, they brought a book,
Listen,
a fake book. They brought a fake book. Yeah, this is not your farm.
It's not going to happen.
This is nonsense.
And we'll come back to
it's pure nonsense.
Don't bring your family.
You can't say police are dying at a lesser rate than farmers.
Okay, let's conclude your point and then we'll come to you.
Prove that. But we're also worried about murders on the Cape Flats. Our safety structures are involved there.
By the way.
Yeah. So for somebody to sit here playing the big man while people are being killed and our country's future is placed in jeopardy, we won't stand for that. So he can accuse us of everything, but we will go ahead to build a better future.
I think AfriForum are the most skilled people at manufacturing non-existent evidence. And one of the things that we must be able to highlight to the people of South Africa is that he tried to bring his friend Ernst Roots as an expert witness at the Equality Court. Ernst Roots was dismissed as the fast that he was with his book that they wrote after drinking brandy and coke. They were dismissed from that court because they thought that what they were doing, because they are white and because they think their opinion can change legislation, they think their opinion is fact. They went to a court with their opinions and they were dismissed and thrown out of that court. And now he's generating another false opinion that white farmers die at a higher rate than police officers who are fighting crime in this country. I mean, that is nonsensical. We challenge him to provide evidence of that because they manufacture evidence to justify this maniacal farce of that there's a genocide in South Africa of white people. This is what they do. They state lies in public record in order for people to panic because they want funding from international right-wing formations and institutions and individuals. This is what they are doing. They fundraise on the basis of lies. They fundraise on the basis of misinformation. And we must characterize them as such.
Kali, you mentioned something with regards to the technicalities of burden of proof, right? But in the court of public opinion, sometimes the threshold is different. In order to persuade somebody that something is wrong, you need to have some sort of evidence that kind of correlates what you're saying. In the absence of that, how are you going to convince people?
No, if you want to look what hate speech is, and maybe our colleagues in the EFF should just go and look at the Constitution. You are not allowed to make a call for violence against people on the basis of race. That is what the Constitution says. It doesn't bring a burden of proof. And we're just saying, even if you look outside of the law, let's look at it morally. Is it justifiable morally? And maybe I shouldn't ask the EFF because morals have never played a huge role in their organization. But morally, can you say, you chant something to say kill somebody on the basis of race while people are being killed? That is not the way we can build a future. And as I've said, fortunately, and we work on grassroots level. We have 168 community safety structures. And we work with all communities, from all cultural communities, to make our towns safer. And we don't pick up what we hear from the EFF. So we are fortunate that we know the majority of people don't do this, but it doesn't mean we should laugh it off. It is extremely dangerous because only a few people can murder people. And we did not hear the EFF condemn the slitting of the throat of Topical a day after they sang this. They did not condemn it. So for them now
Why? Why should we condemn it?
Because it's a person that's murdered.
6,200 people die in this country now, January to March. How many murderers must we condemn? Must we condemn all of them?
Okay.
What's special about white death that you think it must be elevated about everyone else's?
No, you see
why? Why do you exceptionalize white death so much? Above the death of thousands of people in this country. How many people must we condemn? How many murderers do you want us to condemn? Why must we condemn white people who are because white people are murderers on black people? What's special about white people that we must condemn those? So why do you want us to condemn them? Why must we condemn specific murderers? Why do you want us to condemn specific murderers? On what basis? What logic are you using?
Because you think that they should be murdered.
You know, the lack of sophistication that we're dealing with here, because we've explained time and time again that kill the poor, kill the farmer is a chant against the system of oppression, a system of economic exclusion of black people at the benefit of whites, a system of exclusion of black people from land, from mineral wealth, from the means of production. We've explained this. The court has accepted this logic. The court has stated this logic. Now, because courts are agreeing with the EFF's sound logic, suddenly they're not making sense. Suddenly they are wrong. Suddenly they are irrational. Suddenly we must mobilize international communities to stand against domestic courts of South Africa, because someone thinks that white death matters more than the death of black people in this country. And we must condemn murderers of whites, but all other murderers, it's by the way, the Cape Flats also we were worried.
I just want to ask.
This is racism.
If this is simply a literal, it should not be taken literally. Would he give an undertaking that the EFF will not call for the slaughter of white people?
We'll never do that.
Okay, so then it's clear.
We won't take an instruction to take undertakings by you. We're not going to take any instruction to make any undertaking from a Buremach AVP aspirant.
They did say, though, that it shouldn't be taken literally. But why can't we give the benefit of doubt to the South African public to say that they do understand that this has historical context? It is being sung now without the literal meaning or agitating the attack. Why can't we give South Africans the benefit of doubt?
No, we give the benefit of the doubt to the vast majority of black people in the country, because we know the vast majority of people are peaceful. But we are worried about those thugs that take this literally.
100,000 FNB Stadium thugs.
Yeah, well, we know after you failed on the 20th of March, they had to use liquor, threats for the public representatives, food and T-shirts to fill up the stadium. They had to try and save face after they failed dismally.
How many people have died?
They were defeated on the 20th.
How can you prove it? Prove it. Prove how many people have died because of the challenge.
Let's take it.
I can prove that you're not willing to say you will not kill white people.
I'm not going to take any instruction from you to take
well, maybe it's we're playing with regards to semantics, right? Maybe it's the heat of the moment and somebody doesn't want to admit something on this platform. But the general understanding is that no harm should be, should come to another person, right? And I think that is understood now, right? So why can't we meet in the center here? Is it all about just the public bluster? Is that what we're dealing with?
They want money. They need money. They have no interest in meeting in the middle. They need the narrative of genocide to rise so they can fundraise to go to the bushes and shoot at paper targets. This is what they need. AfriForum survives on creating a false narrative of genocide and farm murders in South Africa as if they are at an exponential rate above general crime in South Africa. They exceptionalize themselves because they think white lives matter more than black lives. They need money. They fundraise about stoking Swart. They've done this in 1994. When Mandela became president, they said there's going to be a genocide. It didn't happen. When Mandela died, they said there's going to be a genocide. It didn't happen. Now we're going into one of the most landmark elections in 2024, and the EFF has scared them with FNP Stadium. Now they must stoke another genocidal cry because they need money.
I go to my digital audience.
He's just ill-informed. AfriForum didn't exist in 1994. We only found it in
AfriForum,
2007.
same thing.
Okay,
same thing. But can I just
last point to you, and then we go to digital audience.
Say one thing to what he said. He said we don't want to meet the middle ground. We had, in the first case when this happened, we decided and went into a mediation process with Julius Malema and the ANC to solve this problem, with Julius Malema sitting there. And in the end, it was agreed that the ANC and Julius Malema will ask their supporters not to sing it. So you have a man now that says he spoke and we agreed on that, and he just turned his back on that.
We're not the ANC.
So we cannot. You're with Julius Malema. His name was. He was involved.
He's not the ANC.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the ANC if you want to have those agreements.
Let's pause it there. Let's get in another perspective. I want to bring in clinical psychologist Siphelele Nguze. Siphelele Nguze is joining us now. Siphelele, you have undertaken a study with regards to the psychological effects of struggle songs. Help us understand, what did you find? And given the conversation that we're currently having, the debate that you're having, how does it fit into the narrative? If you can unmute Siphelele. Go on. It seems that
okay, thanks.
Go on, we got you.
Thank you very much. Okay, good. So, of course, I've undertaken a study on the psychological impact of struggle songs with former MK combatants, with an intention of really understanding what is the psychological impact that struggle songs have and have had in our struggle for liberation. What I found is that struggle songs have quite the potential of uniting and healing those that are engaged in the struggle. They play a significant role also in identity and also in chanting a way forward in terms of nation building and also in terms of uniting. So in terms of the current debate then, I don't think that there is anything that is wrong with the singing of struggle songs, because we have to remember, in listening to the conversation between Sinao and the representative of AfriForum, the point that they seem to be emphasizing is the one of peace. But how then do we have peace without any form of justice? And justice is also embedded in those struggle songs. So in order for us to build a nation, there are some uncomfortable conversations that we need to have. We can't just whitewash our history. We can't pretend as if it did not happen. Struggle songs are a reaction of oppression and also the dispossession of black people in terms of their land. So for us to move forward to build this nation that we all speak about, that is going to be united, non-racial and non-sexist and a prosperous society, we also have to be able to have such conversations without any fear. We also, the other thing that we have to also look into is what does white genocide do? It serves a particular function because it is non-existent. Let's just be honest about that. There's no white genocide in South Africa. There's no murder of farmers. There is more at a rate that is higher than farm workers, for example. It's not there. Let's just rule that out. There's statistic and scientific evidence other than just opinions that is there. Let's just take one study that was conducted in 2020. There's been quite a decrease of farm murders in between 1998 and 2017 and 2018. There were 153 farm murders that happened in 1998. And in 2017 to 2018, there were only 47 that happened. So statistically, it does not happen. It does not exist. It's not there.
Well, something that we touched on earlier on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Let them go on to what function does it serve, because that is also where I come in terms of what is the psychological impact of it. It serves as a justification point then when black people are going to be murdered, when black farm workers are murdered, there's going to be a justification that they intended to murder. So when people want to harm others, they then have a narrative that it is because of self-defense. So that is what it seeks to do. They want to justify the murder of black people because of this Swatrevat that they've used, and it also even international community. Leave aside those that are very obsessed with white life, that are intend to really spread a narrative that is non-existent. Look, man, let's just make an example. One example of 1994, a very pivotal moment in our country when Christian was murdered. When you go back to those videos, some of the songs say, "Thina bantu bomkhonto sizimisele ukwabulala lamabhunu." It never happened. Nobody went on to murder Boers at that particular moment. So if there was really a need to murder white people at that moment, would have done it at that time. It did not happen. But there's a narrative that they want to push in our society that they are in danger, therefore it justifies them murdering black people. A month ago, there's somebody that went on to social media and said that they should have done to Gwedemantashe what they did to Chrisan. AfriForum did not say anything about that. They did not say anything about it.
Got your point. Thank you very much for your contribution. CM Tanda, not a fan of your shirt, but we'll still give you a voice. What's your input? If you can unmute CM Tanda.
Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, so from the African Research Desk, in 2020 there were 21,325 murders, 1,061 in households and 49 in farms. 97% of farms in the country are owned by white people. So the chances of if there's a crime, there's a farm murder, chances are it's going to be a white person. Black lives are also lost in farms. Would we then say Ubuti, the song, was the cause for that? I don't think so.
Simtana, thank you very much indeed. Nomtebo, let's hear you. If you can unmute Nomtebo. There we go. All right, it seems that we're having a bit of an issue with Nomtebo's line. Let's try one more time, Nomtebo. No. Menzi, let's give you a chance.
Good evening. My say is this, what else would they say we should stop singing? I personally study using struggle songs. I listened to the EFF album by Dr. Ndlozi while studying because it re-energizes me. It tells me that I'm fighting as an African child. What else would they say we shouldn't watch? Would they censor our YouTube channels? What else would they tell us to stop doing? That's my problem, because this is one of the signs of cancel culture that when people do tell us to stop doing things, don't do that, because it affects them. But what about our struggles? That's my say.
All right. Menzi, thank you. Kim, let's hear from you, then Sheldon.
Good evening, and what a wonderful program. Brilliance is always from the EFF leadership. And I speak on this forum as a very ashamed white South African, as I am every day, because we have the AfriForum individuals speaking about the EFF having no morals, but it is white South Africans who have had no moral compass, that we have never accounted for the great atrocities that we committed against Black South Africans. And now the white man still has the arrogance to speak about what a black child should sing. It's absolutely outrageous. I mean, this is the height of white supremacy that we're still having 30 years into democracy. I'm ashamed and I'm horrified that a white man still thinks he governs this country and he can tell black, thinking, brilliant young youth what to believe. Before I go, I want to say I was a member of the EFF in 2014. I went to many rallies, huge rallies all over the country. And I was never, I felt comfortable, welcome, safe. So the propaganda of the white man, which we've had in this country for centuries under colonialism, is a pandemic that, thank goodness, the young progressive youth of this country are going to snuff out. And it must stop. It is absolute nonsense. But the point I'd like to emphasize is the perpetual arrogance of whiteness. There's an immorality in that, and shame on you.
Kim, thank you very much indeed. I want to take Sheldon before we take a break, and then we'll get our guests to respond. Sheldon?
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I am a student leader of DASO at Stellenbosch University. So for me, I firmly denounce the Kill the Boer song and any form of hate speech that promotes violence and animosity towards any racial group. It is essential to foster a culture of respect, tolerance, and understanding amongst our diverse communities, first of all. We need to promote unity. Peaceful coexistence should be our goal, and we must work together to build bridges of communication. Encouraging songs or messages to incite violence, any perpetuate division or hinder the progress of towards a more inclusive, harmonious society. So I'm just saying, let us embrace more dialogue, education and compassion to create a better society for all of our fellow South Africans at home.
All right, Sheldon, thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get our guests take in a short while. Does the song enhance democracy or does it taint democracy? More next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. We're talking about the song Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer. Controversial, but it's another new controversy. We went out to the streets. We heard what you had to say. Now let's give you a chance. We asked you to send in your comments via WhatsApp. This is what you had to say.
The song Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer is a revolutionary song that was used a long time ago to free the black people from the oppression of the white people. By using it now, it's like opening a healing wound, because there was a reconciliation which was made by Mandela in 1994.
The only fear that I see in white is they know very well what they did to black people, and they think these songs will influence black people to go back to the street and start to kill. And that's not the truth.
I don't think this Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer is a good thought, because this song is a political song, yes, during previous time. But I think he is singing it because he knows that our government will not gonna do anything about it.
People are just pained by the success of the EFF for having filled up the FNB stadium. So they are just isolating this one incident of the song, of which it's not the first time that Julius Malema was singing this. He sang Kill the Boer, he didn't say kiss the Boer, he said kill the Boer, kill the farmer.
Sorry to say this, but this song is a rubbish song. Kill the Boer, kill the farm. Rubbish song. This is a rubbish song. Nelson Mandela will like this. Rubbish song.
All right, thank you very much indeed for your views. Let's take it to our guest. Kali, it's going on for appeal, September. How confident are you that it'll pass the legal muster?
Yes, very confident. I think we've got a strong case, and we are confident that this judgment will be overturned, and that we will have a judgment that you cannot sing to kill people on the basis of race, as it should be in a country that was hugely divided in the past, that we need to make sure that we build a future. And we are confident that we will make our contribution towards building a better society by winning this case. But of course, we don't only have a legal strategy, we will continue with agricultural projects, with traditional communities, to make sure that the poverty is taken on in this country, that we build a future for every child in this country. And thirdly, we will cooperate with all communities, with the taxi industry, with traditional leaders, with local leaders, with churches from all communities, to say we want a stable society. We don't want our children tomorrow to go out into the streets where there's violence and people hate one another. And I must say, the one thing that gives me hope, I lost hope when I listened to the panel, because I hear a kind of denialism in what some of them said. It says there's no such thing as farm murders. Are you going to tell Theo Becker, whose throat was slit, whose wife was in hospital fighting for her life, are you going to tell their families that farm murders does not exist? How can you be in such a way? One murder is one murder too many, and to try and diminish this, I think it shows a lack of humanity. And we will continue to build respect for humanity in this country, and we will cooperate with all that wants to take our hand. Unfortunately, my experience, moving around on grassroots level, and we do a lot of work on grassroots level with regard to water in so-called black communities, fixing potholes for every community in this country, setting up community safety structures that not only looks at certain areas, that looks at a broader solution to the crime problem. We will continue with that, and we will not be derailed by those denialists that think it's fine. If the tailbackers of this world's throat gets slit, it's not fine.
The Equality Court judgment also said that it may well be that a different inquiry may find that the song is offensive. Do you think that another inquiry might find that this song does nothing to build unity and actually detracts from the democracy, the achievements of democracy?
I don't think so. And I don't think if the legal strategy AfriForum uses at the Equality Court is the same strategy they're going to use at the Supreme Court of Appeal, then they're destined to lose. We told them that their lawyer, Oppenheimer, was extremely weak, clumsy, and the worst lawyer that we have ever encountered. They fired him, so we gave them a little bit of advice going forward. But there's no prospect that they are going to win, because their legal strategy is based on their own formulated and fabricated individualistic stories of crime in South Africa that they want to purport as genocide or some deliberate act or planned act of murder of people. We've clarified what the song means, we've clarified its historical significance, we've clarified that it is directed to a system of oppression, a system of exclusion of the majority of black people in South Africa from the means of production. And we're going to continue with our line of argument. We're very pleased that we are going to win there. The man next to me has been defeated in the judiciary before, he's been defeated by research and science now, and he's calling it denialism. We're going to continue to defeat him. And the arrogance of whiteness that science and research, statistics, is just denialism, and he keeps on bringing up names of individuals. The fact that he can even count the number of white people that have died on farms is very telling. We can't count how many, we can't say the names of the 6,200 people who died in South Africa from January to March. He can name all of them, because that's how minimalistic it is. He's borrowing it out of proportion because he wants to fundraise, and that's why he can name everyone that has died on farms, because they know that this thing is something that they've blown out of proportion many a time. So we are going to continue to sing struggle songs. We're going to continue to protect the legacy of liberation movements and liberation songs in this country, whether they like it or not. And if we're going to go to an international platform, whether it's through AfriForum or the Democratic Alliance, we'll do so and we'll convince the world of our superior logic.
Let me just take it to Sheldon. Kali, I'll come back to you. With regards to you mentioned in terms of forging towards unity, from listening to the conversation, heated as it is, there needs to be a middle ground for us to coexist as a nation, right? Where do you see the solution here, Sheldon? Unmute if you would, Sheldon.
Yeah, like I said, I totally don't agree with Kill the Boer song. It's an animosity towards a racial group. And especially now, we are at the state in our economy, we don't need such tension. We need economic growth, we need prosperity, and we need better service delivery. I think that's what we need to focus on instead. Yes.
Mr. Nguse, there is a real need to have uncomfortable conversations, isn't it? To get to that better place that we keep on talking about. But what is the best strategy to bring everybody to the table to discuss this way forward? I mean, when you bring people on platforms like this, it's bound to get heated. Emotions will run high. Sometimes an hour, you're not going to get to the solution. But where do you see, in terms of the psychology of dealing with a problem like this? Talk to us. If you can unmute, sir. Yeah, technology, yeah, go on. It seems that, let's try one more time. No. All right, maybe I'll put it to you, Kali. I mean, we know that, and I keep on saying this because I've heard it before, is that the political parties sitting next to you, the representative sitting next to you, and his leaders have said in public that this shouldn't be taken literally, and I don't think you're calling for anybody to be killed.
Absolutely.
So how do we get to this better place? How do we come together as a nation to forge ahead without kind of bringing the, you know, our own biases?
Well, if they're really serious to say it should not be taken literally, then they should be able to give an undertaking that we're not going to call for the large-scale slaughter of white people.
But they just said they're not calling for the large-scale
No,
slaughter.
he said he will not give an undertaking that it will not happen.
So no,
and he also,
how are you calling for large-scale killing of white
has
people?
never called for the killing of anyone. And for some Boer group to want to force us into a corner to make undertakings about the future of this country when they know that they continue to control the means of production and that the frustrations of our people will not be silent for long. We must make an undertaking that we're going to stifle the cries of our people if the land doesn't go back to them, if the economy doesn't go back to them. We can't make such an undertaking. It's our people who will tell us what must happen in the future if the means of production are returned to them. It's our people who will tell us what must happen in the future if white people continue to torture them in farms, kill them because they mistake them for monkeys, pee on their things in Stellenbosch University, feed them urine at Free State, and all sorts of atrocities that they are making, paying them in alcohol on the farms in Stellenbosch in the Cape Winelands. If our people demand of us to take a particular route and direction at a certain point in time in the revolution, we will be able to do so. But we can't make an undertaking under pressure from a Boer group. Never.
well, it seems that he's ill-informed. I also asked him, why didn't they condemn Theo Bakker being killed?
Let's get the names of all the 6,200 people who died from January to March, and we'll condemn all of those murders.
And I'll condemn
We're not going to do
any
that.
black person that has been killed. We condemn that.
There's nothing special about white life.
We spend a lot of money to assist families, black families, like Senzo Mahiwa's families, because they were left in a lurch by the criminal justice system. We have literally hundreds of black people that ask us to assist them, and we do so because we believe that their lives matter. We condemn every form of crime, and I can give an undertaking. We will always condemn any form of racism against any person, also racism against black person. I can give you that undertaking. I can give you an undertaking. We will condemn in future any form of violence against black people, because we want to build a future. If come on, you simply ill-informed with regard to what AfriForum's positions were.
Someone said
if he goes
must
and
be killed like Krasa.
Yeah, and
said
we
nothing
condemned
about
it.
that.
I condemn it. I condemn it now. Unlike you.
Oh, we have to push you. We have to be pressurized.
We're not going to be pushed.
We just pushed you now to condemn it. You hadn't condemned it before.
We have condemned it.
You're condemning it now.
Yeah, I've condemned it before because we're not going to be pushed by thugs. The EFF, they're a lot of thugs. I can tell you that. But fortunately, more than 90% of these people in this country aren't thugs. And we are hopeful for the future. Their ideology of polarizing society, of destabilizing society will be defeated. It was defeated on the 20th of March, and we are ready to defeat it again. We're not going to be violent, polarizing people like they're doing. We're going to work in communities, as we've done now for many years, to go into communities and say, let's start an agricultural project. And there are numbers
you have
of
the
them.
land. That's why you can
No, we do it on traditional.
Do it.
We do it on traditional land. Those traditional communities that you disrespect. So we work with
last word to you, 30 seconds.
Look, we're going to continue to sing our liberation songs. No one is going to stop us. We're going to defeat them in court on the 4th of September. We're very confident. If that book that they wrote together with Ernst Roots is what they're relying on, we're going to defeat them dismally. And we're going to proceed to fight for economic freedom in this country. We're going to win the elections in 2024 outrightly in their face, and there's nothing they can do about it. The same pains they are feeling from the 10th anniversary rally of the FNP Stadium, they're going to feel them in 2024 next year when we win these elections. And we're going to ensure that some right-wing pressure group does not dictate the narrative and discourse in South Africa. They will never do so. They'll never tell the EFF how high to jump. They're going to be governed by the EFF and operate under the terms and conditions of the black majority of this country.
We've defeated you 7 times in court.
Thank you very much.
One case,
but thank you very much indeed. Look, 1 hour is never enough. Right? 1 hour is never. But I thank you for both coming to studio in person to debate this. I think it's important that we get to a better place. But appreciate your time. To our digital audience as well, Mr. Nguse, unfortunately technology was letting us down. But thank you very much indeed. Value added in terms of your contribution. Digital audience, Appreciate it. All right, here's my take. What was versus what is. Context. Fully understanding the circumstances that form the setting for an event, a statement, or an idea. That's a very definition of the word, right? But some see the song Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer as a proxy for incitement. The Equality Court's ruling last year, not hate speech. Leave to appeal has been granted. So we'll await the judicial conclusion on this matter. But one thing's for sure and certain, though, that this issue has once again thrown race relations in this country into the spotlight. And if history has taught us anything, you can't paper over hot button issues such as this. You eventually will get burnt. You have to talk about it. Let's have the uncomfortable conversations, right? Let's debate it with decency and with the intention of getting to a better place as one nation, united in our hope for a better, more unified tomorrow. Not only for us as grown-ups, but for our children and their children. We have to be better than what we oppose, because very rarely is animus an agent for good change. So why don't we let our strength be a function of our respect for one another? And that's my take. If you missed anything, be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube. Sports Live up next. If you're watching a repeat of this program, then as always, the news continues. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.